Hi, it's Liz from Lohas Canada. It is November, middle of November. So that just came up very quickly. I'm on the west coast of Canada on Vancouver Island, so it has gotten cold here. It's definitely gotten darker at nighttime earlier. So this is a podcast about sewing, about knitting. I look at more eco-friendly options, thrift store finds, about crafty things. And we will get started right away. So let's talk about some knitting. So I have been knitting up a storm, trying to get as many gifts collected as possible that I can knit. So I'm not going to be showing you those knitted gifted items quite yet. I'll do a separate video closer to Christmas time just to show you of all the different Christmas gifts that I will be knitting. But one Christmas gift I will show you, because I'm going to give it to him today, is a scarf for my dad. So I did use, this is Cascade yarn, and I'll have to look for the label. Cascade yarn, it is a superwash yarn and it is 100% merino. Now superwash is not great for the environment, as we all know it's a chemical process that really tightens up the fibers and makes it really smooth, but superwash is good for when you're giving gifts to people because you don't actually know how they're going to treat them. So just having a superwash 100% merino, it's really plasticky. I found when I started to knit it, I actually didn't enjoy knitting it at first. Once I have blocked and washed this out, then it actually softened up and became really lovely. But when I was knitting it, not so much. So I didn't use a pattern for this. I'm knitting some socks right now and I really like the ribbing. It is I did a knit one on each side, but then I did a knit two, purl one as a repeat, and then when you go to the other side, you do purl one, and then it's a purl two, knit one, repeat. So that's all I did. Didn't do it in the round, just used my round knitting needles and then just did a simple bind off. So pretty nice, pretty long. I just asked him how long. He had a scarf already that was just a piece of wool. It's much more decorative, his other scarf. So I just made it the same length and then blocked it. It did take about 2 days to actually dry, so he'll be getting this today. I really like it though. I really like this type of ribbing. This is actually, I think, the first scarf I have made. This is one from last year. This is the Hat Dana, so it goes all the way around, and this was local fiber, dyed with mushrooms and other things, and it's got some merino in it. It's got some wool, a little bit scratchy but not too bad because I wear it out and I'm not out all day. So I do wear this out. I knitted this last year and I wear this one out quite a bit just to keep me warm. So I have been pulling out my wool items. This last spring I knitted My First Sweater by Marley Bird. I've been wearing that a ton. I did sew up, they had little slits at the very bottom, and I didn't really like that when I started wearing it more, so I just sewed those up and it works out perfect. It's got a boat neck shoulder, so I have been sewing it up just to figure out where I like it, because I don't like it super constrained on my neck, but I don't like it falling off my shoulders either. So I pulled this one out, and this one was from this last spring as well too, or it was last winter I started this, and this was my first vest. It's got some name like textured something. And anyhow, so I did some mistakes, some shaping I did wrong up here, and then I actually had a full ball of yarn left over because you're working from the bottom up, and they didn't have any like short wear shaping at the back, so when I put it on, it's a little bit too short for me. I like things a little bit longer. So I decided to pick up the stitches at the bottom. It's kind of a disaster right now. They are on those Prim ergonomic needles, which I find are really awesome because I do have the other, like just a bamboo ones, but the cord that keeps putting it on the bamboo needles keeps falling off. So these ones are on this metal cable and they're permanently attached. So just because of my tension is super tight. So I'm picking up the stitches and then I'm just going to do like a couple knit rows and then work the pattern again. It's gonna look a little bit funny, but I think I would wear it when if it's longer, because just it's pinching at the back here, and then when it's short it just kind of looks very like I'm a tomato. So I have been slowly working on this. It's just been taking me a while because I don't, you know, when you're trying to pick up stitches that you're not really supposed to pick up. So it's been an interesting process because I already weaved in all the ends and stuff, so that is not my favorite. So this is the Skeindeer cardigan. I think it's Haust, H-A-U-S-T. I'm probably saying that wrong. So it's a bottom-up cardigan. I started it last time, I think I showed you. It does have, I think, like 4 or 6 steeks, so that was kind of nerve-wracking where you cut it. I did sew it because I don't know how this yarn, even though I have to look at the content again. If it's a really rustic yarn, you don't have to, but this is kind of a nice and drapey yarn. I think it just wouldn't have held up because even with my steeks, it did unravel a bit until it got to where I sewed it. So it looks very, very messy right now. I'm doing the button band, and that's something new for me. I haven't done a button band before. This pattern has German short rows, which is really awesome because my other textured vest doesn't have the German short rows, so it does pull up a bit on the back, so it makes the back go higher up. So that's why I'm also knitting that vest a little bit more, just so that it goes past my waist, just because when I wear vests I throw them on and it's going to be, you know, covering more of my body. And I do have an extra skein left of that same yarn, so why not? So I've just started the first side. I had to watch some videos and figure that out. Then I'll do the neck, and then I'll do the sleeves. So in her pattern, she has this doing the sleeves first and then the button band in the neck. I just don't know how much yarn I'm going to have left over, so I rather do the button band, the neck, and then do the sleeves, and then gauge how long I can make the sleeves from that. The other thing is in the pattern, everyone kind of has it finishing near just below maybe the belly button, like kind of where your natural hips maybe flare out if you have that. So I do. I did make it a bit longer than what it recommends in the pattern just because I like a little bit longer cardigans. It is a really close fit body cardigan. And so it does go kind of past my hip area, so it kind of flares it out a bit. The only thing I guess is that because this pattern is meant to stop before your hips flare out, it would create some kind of tension because it's not meant to. I would have to go up a couple sizes for it to go across my hips, so that's the only thing, but it's not a really long cardigan, as you can see. Like, it's not going to be such a big deal. And so is the pattern easy or hard? It kind of just depends on how you learn from that person that is putting it together. So for Skeindeer, I have no problems going through it. If I read a different pattern, like say this Hat Dana, I did have a problem figuring out the shaping of it. I used the wrong fabric for the first one, so I should probably frog that one because I never wear it. And also the shaping of it is completely wrong. The back is completely wrong. And it took a lady in my knitting group to kind of break it down for me. So it wasn't that the problem that the pattern is incorrect, is the way that I'm interpreting it and figuring it out. And that's just preference of how, you know, I've never done it before, but then also of how it is written. So with Skeindeer, I have no problem so far of going through the steps, and the construction of the garment is laid out relatively easy for me. So the hurdles would be like steeking if you've never steeked before, like cutting your fabric open for the cardigan. Also, you know, like the button bands and everything. So it just really depends on, it just does take me a couple days just to watch a bunch of videos and get up the confidence to do those things. But once I do them, you know, it's just kind of like, oh, okay, well, it's not such a huge deal. So I do want to show you a finished object. And I can't remember where I was last time when I showed you the skirt. So this is another Skeindeer pattern, though her pattern, I heavily altered this and modified this. I just did not keep track of what I did. So this part up to a certain point is all the pattern, and then it flares out. I did it beyond my hip, my widest part, and then started to go back in because I wear pencil skirts if they're going to be short like that rather than something that's flared out. I might actually do a flared out one. I was actually thinking if I find some really lovely drapey knitted material, then I'll knit a drapier one and follow the pattern. But because this was a hemp and I held a sock yarn to get the black kind of color into it, it did not drape out like I liked it, and I would want it to make it longer as well. So I would definitely knit this pattern. I really like the waistband of how she did that. The only other thing that I'm just gonna fix, so one side I did a slit just because when you get a certain point down your legs, you want to have that slit so you're able to walk. And then the other thing is it really depends on your back side of how much of a hump you got, how much. So I made it a little bit longer at the back side. What I should have done though, it does look a little bit funny just because it does go a little bit longer on the back side, and I'm going to be turning that up just so that it has more continuity, and then it won't be such a big deal. But because I did notice when I was just knitting it continuously, trying it on, that the back was constantly rising up more than the front. So I do have, I think I showed this one last time, Superwash Merino. So this is from Cascade yarn, and the reason why I do get Superwash is for making gifts. I got this and I'm going to be knitting a gift. I'm going to be pairing it with, there is a new knitting store in Nanaimo in Rutherford Mall, or Northtown Mall, I guess it's called. So they had this sugar bush, and they're calling it Nanaimo just because I think it's the town. But it's this gray kind of look. So this is 80% baby alpaca and then 20% mulberry silk. So I'm going to hold these together to make something just because I like the pink, but I think together they'll make a better combination, just more wearable. But I could be wrong, so it's kind of a gamble. But it'll be in the gift video that I'll do later on. So I've already just started that project last night. And I just want to show you, I was trying to look for different patterns and techniques. This book I found at the thrift store. I think I have a different book and I just cannot find it. But it's basically like a knitting directory. And the only reason is to just get inspiration. The only reason I don't like this book, and for some reason I know I have in my bookshelf somewhere, is that they do have this stitch library. So they do show you like different types of stitches, but they don't have the graph of how to do it. So they just say like first row C4B. And in my head, I'm more of a visual person, so I know my other book has the actual chart to it. So but that gives you more, like, if you want to just do textured scarf, then you could figure out a pattern from there. But just having some sort of knitting directory for those types of inspirations. So I will find it later on, but I did pick a pattern out of here, and because my head couldn't wrap it around what it was actually supposed to do, I ended up just searching for it online and doing it from there. So let's get into my sewing. So we can first talk about the two sewing projects that didn't really work, or kind of worked, but I need to modify it. So my first one is actually this corset. And it's not a huge thing. So I showed you the corset last time. And I did not have any lacing in it. I don't have proper lacing either. I just used some cord. And last time I didn't have any lacing in it, so I was just able to put it on and hold it. Now, when I put some cord into it, I was finishing all the edges, I was trimming all the things, and I went to go try it on, and I did a mistake. So I bought a bunch of these zippers at the thrift store, and this was the zipper that I used, and I didn't check. So the bottom, this was the only one that fit this corset pretty well. The bottom doesn't come apart. So I'm sort of able to get it on, and it fits like amazing, this corset, because of the modifications that I made previously. It fits amazing. But so this zipper is great for, say, jeans when you have the fly and you don't have to take it apart, or maybe like a I don't even know why you would use a zipper this long. That, you know, usually you have a shorter zipper like this, and then it's just like for a pullover, and then you zip it down halfway to get your head out or something like that. But this is a full length, body length zipper that just doesn't open. So I haven't picked it apart. I can get into it. It's not very graceful at all. I have to put one arm up to try to get each shoulder in at a time. So my second project that I was doing, and I cannot find my pattern pieces, so I'll have to put that in later on the screen once I find where I put it. So it is, I wanted some slippers, so I made them high, and so there was 3 or 4 options, I think. So the highest one is this one, and then you get like your anklet, and then you get your like really short one. And I had this wool, and I asked on a Facebook group, just because I didn't have a ton of this wool, of what I should do. And the pattern looked like it had fuzzy lining inside, and I didn't read the full instructions either, so it told me to buy some soles, right? So I didn't read it fully, and I thought I could maybe make my own soles, as they're just like leather or some suede, and then put some lining at the bottom. Now, the pieces don't have a left and a right foot, which isn't such a huge deal because they are pretty roomy. But the problem also comes down to is that the sole. So I ended up finding this sole at the fabric store. Oh yeah, so Fabricland is back in our area, so it's just in Nanaimo, so super excited. So I have some fabric to show. But so they had these soles. They were, I think, originally like 30 bucks or something, and then with Fabricland discount you get it for half price, so pretty pricey for what it is. So this is suede, and then inside just has like a poly lining. And it's not thick, not thick at all. So I don't know if I'm supposed to continuously add material in here to get the shape or what's happening, but I'm having a problem with these because they flop down in the ankle because there's no structural support. This pattern, you really have to determine how wide your leg is as well, because as you can tell, there's some stress going on here on both sides because they're very tight along. Like if I had fleece in this or something, I probably wouldn't be able to actually get it on my leg. And then it becomes very loose down here, so that's causing problems because then it bunches all here and I end up stepping on it, and it's just not very comfy. And they do not look flattering at all because there's just so much room in here that it doesn't stand up like this. It just goes like a pancake. So I was thinking what I might do is make it an anklet or half an anklet, put some additional padding at the bottom. I'm gonna have a look at different sites, Facebook groups that do make shoes and try to get, or slippers, that I'm trying to get some more information. But I mean, just even the cost of soles, that's not really, you can buy slippers better than that. So my original thing, but now I know how they do it. They make the soles because originally I had this piece of leather that I cut out, and then I had This one I tried on the first one and punctured some holes in there, right? And then I was thinking, oh, I'll sew this like padding, not to this, but into the inside lining of the garment, and then this can be on the outside. But it bunched up quite a bit, and looking at the sole that I purchased, they actually sewed it to the inside lining first so that there'll be shape to it, and then it doesn't bunch up when you are putting it on the outside. So that was a really great tip of knowing how to do that. So this leather is part of that jacket that I bought at a thrift store, and it was an oversized jacket. It's a genuine leather. Genuine leather is not good quality leather. It's probably the cheapest leather out there. But I've been taking bits and pieces from it. I made the armband from it. And just looking at the leather jacket, because I was trying to do it kind of more eco-friendly based, I mean, I don't know. Is it better to get used leather so we're not encouraging leather to be continuously produced, or maybe just buying from more ethical dealers about leather? Because of that jacket, I've been pulling it apart. It has a poly shell in the inside, so all that material, that lining, what do I do with it? So it's just all plastic inside, and it's plastic, probably threads as well. So I don't know, is it eco-friendly to take that jacket apart, where now once I'm done with it, what do I do with it? Or could it just lasted, you know, somebody could have bought that jacket and it lasts 50 more years, or maybe 100 more years of wear, and it not being in the landfill. So that I'm struggling with that a bit. We do have a leather store in Nanaimo, so I did go to the leather store. I haven't fully checked out their policies on where they get their leather and everything, but I do want to show you what I got from the leather store. So I'm not too sure if this is going to work out, but I wanted to make a waistcoat or a vest, and I did have some wool. And I did post this in one of the Facebook groups too, and they gave me tons of suggestions, because this is all I have of this piece of wool. And I'm like, what do I do with it? It doesn't go around my waist all the way to make a skirt. What do I do with it? So there was lots of suggestions, and one of them was the slippers. The other one was to make a vest. There was lots of different things. So with that, I was able to find this pattern, and I thought, oh great, but even with this pattern to make a vest, I just still don't have enough material. So I was thinking at the back I can make it something else, like a different pattern or a different color, and then have the wool at the front. So it'll be lined with something. I still have to figure out that lining. But when I was at the leather store, I did find this piece. It's really nice, kind of suede-y, very flexible. I don't know really too much about leather, and I was able to get it. It was on the discount area, so pretty inexpensive for leather. So leather is very expensive. So I don't have too much information, but I thought that possibly these two go together. I did take a little swatch with me just to see, and they do have some of this teal color in here, so I think it will hopefully go together really well. Now I've just been watching videos because I've never made a vest before, so trying to figure that out. So the original reason I actually went to the leather store is to look for some material to make arm guards for when I do archery. I haven't done archery this year, but they went outside, and if you have your own bow, there is an archery range in the summertime. I don't have my own bow, so it'll be something to look into investing for next year. But I wanted to make my own arm guard, so I did that last year with that same material as this material here with the leather jacket. It was too thin. I put grommets in. The grommets were stretching out. It worked fine though for actually, you know, when you hit your arm with the string or the arrow, I didn't feel it. So that was a good thing. But looking at other people's armbands, and they, you know, bought them at whatever fair, and they're custom made, or they ended up going to getting a mass-produced ones or plastic ones. I was looking at all these different types of stuff. So I really want to make my own. So they suggested at the leather store that it's called a vegetable tan, though it's still leather. But it's very pliable once it's in water. So what I would do, and it's also, you can dye this and you can make impressions on it. So they did have a little sample of an arm guard there, and basically they just took a piece like this big, and they just had it on the arm. You could just put it on the arm, and then they just had bungee cord, flexible string type thing to go around to the back, and just had little clips. So that was a very, I mean, it was beautifully done. Something I will aspire to. But for this, what you can do, and maybe if I have some extra material, is you put it in water till it's malleable. Then you put it around your arm, and then keep it there until it dries. And then it's basically like a custom armband. So that's kind of my idea. Once it's dry, then I can put some grommets in it and see how it works. I could put some texture in it when it's wet as well. So if I have a stamp, or she even had like a mason jar that she rolled onto one when it was wet, and it picked up to the design in that. You could just leave it blank, or add some coloring to it. So it's kind of all up to you. So that's kind of my project. I could probably even get away with it like this way, and then have some leftover to try to play with doing just one on here. So I do have some tools and some patterns and books and stuff that I will want to show you. And this is Taylor's chalk wheel. So the chalk goes in at the top, and then it does make a sound, and chalk gets dispersed at the bottom. So you can put your pattern piece on, you trace around it like this. I just bought this at Fabricland. I don't really know what it's called. You can buy more chalk that goes at the top. It has to be square chalk, so it's a bit, I guess, more pricier, but I do use, you know, the pencils, and they work great. But if you're using something like this, it worked really well on the leather. I do have the other ones that you put the chalk in and then you go around. It's very, very thick. So I might do a review of the sewing things that work really well for me. So with silk, I do want to learn about more, because you can dye with it. You can use, like, seeing things like different types of plant material. You can actually kind of stain to silk as well. I totally forget what it's called, like eco dyeing. So I wanted to learn a bit more about the way it's processed, the whole situation. I have watched some YouTube videos of how they actually, you know, have the cocoon sacks, and how they get it from there, and it's really interesting to see how silk is made. I found this at the thrift store too and picked it up. The complete guide to, like, stitchery. So really different types of stitches. Oh, they do even have crochet in here, and different types of embroidery, knitting, and then just like thread stitches. So I always try to pick up thicker books like this, so I have lesser ones that are just, you know, really nice, but they only show you maybe like 5 techniques and then some patterns, and you don't really use that book, or I don't really use that book, so I'd rather have bigger books that have more information. And the other one I picked up is a sewing one, Make Your Own Patterns. Just because I do want to make my own patterns eventually, but just for altering reasons, like altering the patterns, like this doesn't work so well on my bust or my hips or whatever, and just really understanding where those crucial line points need to be. So I think just understanding it, I haven't really dove into this at all, but it is on my list of things to read. And I did pick up one pattern. I am definitely becoming more picky with picking up patterns, just because I am looking for certain things, certain criterias, to work with certain fabrics, and I'm kind of going through my patterns now and being like, am I actually going to make this? Is this a good quality pattern? Just different factors. So I picked up two. I'll show you this one, but like, look at all the hats. So I think these are really cute. It'll be interesting to try to make some maybe with like the wool on the outside. So this is Simplicity 6769, and at the thrift store that I go to, they have some great vintage patterns. So I also picked up this one. This is Style 1671. It's like a trench coat type of thing, and I would eventually like to make a wool coat. That is on my list of things. So when I went to the fabric store, I ended up picking up some materials, of course. I was so excited. So I was thinking about tea towels. I don't know why, but I was wanting to get rid of like these old tea towels that we have. They're not really absorbent. They aren't really great. They're kind of just mishmash. So I wanted to create some continuity, but they didn't really have tea toweling material at this fabric blend. So this one lady who worked there, she suggested that I get this type of material. It's 100% cotton, and it's used to line curtains. And she thought, oh, it'll be really great. It'll be really absorbent. Tell me how it works out. And she was all excited too, because she wanted to get some material to make her own tea towels. And so I got some material. It works amazing. And it was really inexpensive material. So I'm going to go back there and get some more of this fabric. I was thinking, could I embroider it? How can I make it a little bit fancy if I give it as gifts? Just maybe keep it white? I don't know. So I ended up trying to embroider it, and this was supposed to be like a hummingbird. It's very thick, so like what I did for these is I just serged the edges, folded it down, and then stitched it. I didn't do two folds or anything because it is a thicker material. So that did not work out. Obviously, it actually, because there were so many layers upon layers, it distorted the fabric. And it is a bit trickier to get into your embroidery machine just because it is thick. And it actually kind of ripped it a bit too. So, I mean, this is kind of just a plain tea towel, and I can just, if I really want to still use it or just keep on playing with it to see different patterns and how they work, I can just cut that off if I want to use it. But it works for lettering. So it says Hi World. But yeah, so I was pleasantly surprised, and so I'm able to put, you know, like love or gratitude or something on that, and just kind of make it a little bit nicer for gifts, right? So, or maybe just leave them white and then people can bleach them as well. I think this would be really great if you had a baby and you wanted to make these for somebody who had a baby, because they absorb like amazing, and then they're also white. So if it's really gross or something, they can also bleach it. So I'm going to be picking up quite a bit more of that material to make some more of these. While I was at the fabric store, I was so excited because, you know, I have bought, obviously, material online because we haven't had a fabric store that, we do have fabric stores, but they sell a lot of, or only, quilting cotton. So I'm more into, you know, cotton, soft cotton, different types of texture, and they had plaid. So this is 100% cotton. It's just a plaid. It's not fleece or anything. And so I was so excited. A pretty reasonable price as well. So I got quite a bit of it, kind of just out of excitement. And didn't really think what I was going to make with it. I knew I was going to make either like a skirt or something with it. I'm not quite there yet to make a jacket, but something along those lines. And I was looking the other day about inspiration of what I could make with something like this. It's a bit tricky because it is directional fabric, of course, skirts, like not like you have to match up kind of your plaid to plaid. Not necessarily, but you know what I mean, like it does have some pattern to it. And they had this, they called it a maxi skirt, which I don't think it is the correct term for it. It's basically, it looked like a long trench coat. So it basically looked like this, but it went down to the floor, which I would probably still keep it at knee length. But it might have had the collar as well, but it had buttons all the way up at the front. So you could wear it as a dress if you wanted to, or you could wear it as like just an overcoat type thing, not a warm one obviously because it is cotton, but just like wear it like a cotton dress, or just a throw over and leave the buttons open. So I have a feeling I kind of want to make that. I don't wear tons and tons of skirts is the reason why, so I think I would get more wear out of that. I think I got 3.5 yards because I was originally thinking I want to do a floor length skirt with gathers into it, and that's why I got so much. But then, yeah, it's you know, it's that balance where you're like, how many skirts do I actually wear? I have worn not a lot. And I think I'd just get more use out of something like this. So I'm going to try to go through my patterns again, see if I have more of a pattern that's closely suited to that, but I might also just use this pattern if I don't, and just kind of, I guess I could keep the pockets. I'm not a huge fan of these huge pockets, but I think keep putting it in the inside instead of the outside. Like, I don't like this style. But, and the waist tie would be optional as well too. But those are my options, but I have so much of this color and I'm so glad, because I do love thrift store shopping, but not for fabric, just because unless it's a really great deal, or not even a deal, if it's a really great color, but it's a lot of the times I've bought stuff like this before, I've washed it and it just smells so plasticky that I've gotten rid of it. I mean, it was inexpensive and stuff, but it just had a high percentage of polyester in it. So those are the things that are happening in my world. I will share with you the gifts in another video. So my only other thing is I have bought more yarn. It hasn't come yet. I don't know about you guys, but there has been so many amazing online free workshops for dyeing, for learning about whatever, that usually you would have to go to, you know, the festival and pay lots of money. And of course it's not going to be the same as going to a festival, but you still get a lot of the same information, not maybe to the volume that you normally would, but a lot of stuff is online. So I've been watching actually a lot right now. We're in November, so a lot more mushroom festivals, mushroom talks, mycelium talks, different things, whatever you're interested in. So we do have some mushrooms going in the yard because I have wood chip in the garden. So these ones came up. They're a rust cap. So I bought some Briggs & Little fiber. That's just a white, just a plain, like no bleached fiber. So I do, hopefully they'll come soon-ish, but I do want to go out and pick those mushrooms and try some mushroom dyeing. And also right now it's lichen time with all the wind blowing and everything, and when the lichen is on the ground you can, you know, pick it up and then do your process that way too. I mean, lichen's a little bit longer process because a lot of times you're soaking it in ammonia to get different colors for a couple months and then using it, but just starting that process now and talking about it. So it's just an amazing collection of, you know, of information that you're just like, oh, I would have normally been, you know, I normally don't go down to the States for a mushroom workshop, but they're now doing it online, so that's really great. I have access to that. I haven't even heard about this company or what these people are doing, but now it's just kind of all these free workshops, or maybe you have to pay a little bit to get into them. So I don't know about you, but one thing that I have noticed, my thought to speech communication has has been a little bit slower and not as fluid. It never was always really fluid and I could always convey my messages, but definitely now, because before, you know, every day I'd be going out to different things or chatting with people, so sometimes a lot of times, you know, in a day you could be talking total amount 5 hours to different people and communicating verbally, but now, you know, I have a course, I'm not necessarily communicating that much verbally. Then I watch, say, some movies or live streaming or anything like that, and it's not necessarily I'm communicating that verbally or messaging my friends. It's more of a non-verbal communication, so maybe like an hour or two a day depending on what I'm doing or who's home or anything like that. So it's definitely a different time to practice and also think about how our communication is changing as well in what is happening within the world. So let me know what your thoughts about that, if you're having a little bit of communication, verbal communication, you know, having those thoughts to put into words. We had a socially distanced knit night this last week. We have a very small knitting circle, so we felt it was okay. We don't have like lockdown rules where we are right now, so we were chatting and I was just like having that communication thing, because I was like, man, you know, we chatted for about 2 to 3 hours in one sitting, right? And usually my verbal communication can be sporadic throughout the day, so the whole day is like 1 to 2 hours, but that whole time I wasn't talking the entire time, but having that verbal communication of putting thoughts to my words. So I hope you guys are all doing well. Let me know what you guys are making for Christmas time. And yeah, knitting and sewing, it's definitely a different year of how we're going to be distributing those gifts and what we're making. So I will talk to you guys later.